Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first NSIN Propel info session. Thank you for everyone joining. Just as a reminder, before we get started, to stay on mute, and then there'll be a time for Q&A following our briefing. And we encourage you to use the Q&A button to submit your questions at the end or during, and then we'll have a Q&A session towards the end. Welcome. This is our second year of conducting the NSIN Propel studio with our partners at New Lab, NSIN, the Air Force Research Laboratory in Rome, New York, and Decisive Point. We're really excited to do the second iteration of our program. We had a lot of success last year, and we're expecting this coming year to be even more successful, to bring in even more stakeholders. And we're really excited to kick that off and to have all of you here to learn more about this great opportunity. I will say that, last year we were fortunate enough to welcome teams from across the country into the program, and we're encouraging applicants from across the country. We're looking for teams that are interested in bringing their technology to help government and defense and solve national security challenges. Specifically, we're looking for companies that are focused on the commercial market, but then also might have an application to enter the federal space. So today, I'm going to tell you a little bit first about the program and about who we are and the various players and support that you'll get in the program. And then following, I'm going to introduce some of the speakers that we have with us today. We have Mr. Pete LaMonica joining us from the Air Force Research Laboratory. He's the Chief of High Performance Systems there. We have Mr. Grant Fox, the Mid-Atlantic Director for the National Security Innovation Network. And we have Ms. Sheena Patel, a sales executive from Edge Impulse, who is an alumni of the program. And she's going to also tell you a little bit about her experience going through NSIN Propel and what that did for her company. So the unique thing about our program is that, we're bringing to the table not only a great network of startups for you to partner with and have access to, but also our investor networks. Both New Lab and Decisive Point, we're investors ourselves, and we bring a lot of investors to our network. So during the program, there's an opportunity to access that type of network if you're thinking about raising capital either during or post program. We have a wonderful physical space at New Lab, which New Lab is going to talk a little bit about. But if you haven't been to the Brooklyn Navy Yard or see their space, it really is, it's massive, 84,000 square feet in the heart of New York City with access to prototyping resources and a urban-like test environment, whether you're looking to test drones or unmanned water vehicles and whatnot. So there's a lot of testing opportunities, prototyping opportunities there. And then the unique thing about the program is that we're bringing a lot of engagement from DoD stakeholders from across the DoD, from the Air Force, from our partners at Air Force Research Laboratory, and also to a lot of the customers that they support within DoD across the Army, Navy, and other federal stakeholders as well. Even the Department of Homeland Security participated last year. So, we bring in that unique fourth part to this program, and that's the defense engagement. So before, leading up to this information session, we worked very closely with the Air Force Research Lab to identify what are some of the priorities and what are some of the technology gaps that they're seeking to fulfill. We held some discussions, and these were the focus areas that we came up with here. So, real-time data analysis to decision making, looking for commercial products that are able to quickly digitally engineer data, analyze data, work with incomplete data sets, any way to help speed up the decision making process. We're also looking at advanced computing systems that can enable computing at the edge to include, smaller swap and form factors. We're also very interested in neuromorphic computing this year. Thirdly, we're interested in communication and connectivity. As you know, the Department of the Defense has a lot of systems that they use to communicate in an operational environment. Some of those are legacy systems, some of those are newer systems. And what is really important is for those systems to always be able to speak to each other and work together. And so, we're looking for technologies that can help better make those systems, optimize the networks there. And then lastly, we're looking for next generation space technologies. As the commercial space environment begins to become more dynamic, more commercialized, we know that there's a lot of great commercial technology out there that can help us maintain a situational awareness on space, maintain a common operating picture when you're working with distributed stakeholders in an organization. And so those are the types of technologies we're looking for the next generation space. And towards the end of during the Q&A period, if we have other questions about specifics on what you're looking for, we do have AFRL on the line that will be able to answer some of those technical questions. So one unique thing about NSIN Propel, again, as I mentioned, is that we have this dual use focus. So we specifically are looking for commercial products, commercial technologies and solutions that are applicable and have use cases in the Department of Defense. So one thing we do throughout the program is we help you understand where you might fit into the Department of Defense organization, who are some of the stakeholders and end users of your technology that would that are in need, that would add value, and how do you understand to navigate some of those customers. It's sometimes very challenging for startups that don't have federal experience to understand, well, how do I align stakeholders? How do I understand a chain of command, and how do I meet all these compliance requirements, cybersecurity requirements? So what we do during the program, in addition to bringing in our networks, we on a weekly basis go over some of these things and provide on-hand support to help you navigate some of these complex concepts to navigating the federal government. We bring in great speakers from government and that work with government to help you understand that and keep the programming dynamic as well. And then lastly, we do bring a lot of contracting expertise. Contracting can be a big barrier for bringing your tech to government. And so we bring in contracting expertise from our team to help you understand what are the types of contracts that can help me bring my technology to government faster. So now I think what we're going to do is talk a little bit about the various stakeholders that are involved in the program and the support and resources that you'll have access to. I'm going to start with Decisive Point. I'm from Decisive Point. My name is Ryan. I'm a partner there. And we are a VC and advisory firm and experience also, helping companies bring their technologies to government. Our team consists of former veterans from the military, former successful entrepreneurs, and former contracting officers that are going to bring that expertise to help you navigate getting into the government. Here are some of the successes that we've had in the past. We are we have a lot of past performance helping companies win non-dilutive funding from the government, capture government contracts for R&D, and that's a great way for you to add value to your business without having to give up a lot of stake. And so for those of you that are seeking R&D pathways to bootstrap your technology, it's a great opportunity to pursue some of these R&D contracts. Also for companies that maybe have already gone through a lot of R&D, there's other types of procurement contracts and commercial solutions openings that we can help you bring your technology direct on the procurement level to various government customers as well. With that said, I'm going to turn this over to my colleague and partner, Sahil from New Lab.
Thanks for the intro, Ryan. Nice to meet everyone here. My name is Sahil Jain, and I'm one of the directors here at New Lab that is working on our innovation studios, which I will talk about in a few slides. So New Lab is a company focused on scaling emerging technologies and applying them meaningfully across industries and cities. At the core of our business, we have four key pillars. Foundationally, we have our membership community, which is composed of over 200 entrepreneurs, startups, and frontier tech companies that are co-located with us here in the Brooklyn Navy Yard and are building their products. On top of that, we created our innovation studios business, which is really focused around partnering with Fortune 500 companies and government agencies to solve problems within their business and value chain by employing startup and emerging technologies. Next, we invest in the startups that come through our membership community in our innovation studios through a syndication and network of over 400 investors. And lastly, we have a venture studio which partners with founders to actually scale and launch startups from 0 to 1. To kind of double click a little bit into New Lab's business and how we've grown over the last several years, I mentioned that our community here based in the Brooklyn Navy Yard is over 200 companies strong. And collectively, these companies to date have raised over $1.3 billion in venture capital and have secured and exited deals over $750 million as well. What's unique about our community is that we are highly curated in terms of the types of companies and entrepreneurs that we bring in. And we really believe that handpicking the right types of entrepreneurs and technologies is important to solving future scenarios that can change the world. So as I mentioned, our innovation studios are really a mechanism for us to partner with Fortune 500 companies and civic organizations to solve these transformational challenges that they're facing and future-proofing their businesses or value chains. I wanted to touch on two studios in particular that I feel are incredibly relevant, both to the NSIN Propel program, but also in terms of helping portray how startups can work with us. And for that, I would like to share our partnerships with Verizon and Ford, respectively. With our partnership with Verizon, we've created a 5G studio that's really focused on looking at the future of industrial automation and sustainability. Verizon have outfitted a private 5G network in our building here in the Brooklyn Navy Yard that allows startups to tap into the mobile edge compute and network to test their technologies and understand how their capabilities are enhanced with the benefits of 5G. In our partnership with Ford and Michigan Central, we're really looking at the future of mobility as it pertains specifically to electrification and autonomy. Later this year, New Lab will be opening its second headquarters in Detroit in partnership with Ford and Verizon to continue to pursue this innovation studio and scale its impact locally within the Detroit area and with startups and other value chain companies. Our methodology is composed of 5 core pieces and steps in a framework, but that's largely inspired by design thinking. What I'd like to stress is at the core of this methodology is validated learning and applied R&D. And really what I mean by that is not only are we focused on problem identification and solution creation, but we're actually focused on building small scale and iterative demonstration projects that allow startups to not only understand the functional and product requirements of end users, but actually test their products against those user requirements and incumbent solutions in order to demonstrate how their technologies can perform above and beyond what's available in the market today. Ultimately, we use this process to drive technology adoption in the field and really help customers gain confidence that these emerging tech solutions are going to help future-proof their business. Really, at the end of the day, joining NSIN Propel is going to get you an opportunity to learn about how users are looking at problems within their space and how you can help solve those challenges for them. So being a part of this program specifically will unlock several different benefits for you. First and foremost, as I mentioned previously, we provide grant funding to support your prototyping and pilot projects against DoD pilot scenarios that we're able to create for you over the next 6 to 8 months. We don't take any equity to participate in the program or get access to this funding. If you're fundraising in the near term as well, New Lab and Decisive Point are eager to be a part of that. And we provide you access to our investor network as well as do our own diligence to potentially participate in your future coming rounds as well. We also would love to give you an access to the customers that are coming through our commercial studios. And so we're not only focused on defense use cases, the thesis of the studio is really around dual use ventures. And so where relevant and applicable, we definitely look for opportunities to connect startups to our commercial partners in other areas. As Ryan indicated earlier, Decisive Point have created a bespoke defense curriculum that allows you to navigate the complex federal procurement process and understand how you can position yourself best to win these contracts. And lastly, as a part of this program, you'll have access to New Lab's facility here in the Brooklyn Navy Yard, to our prototyping facilities, and our community of over 200 startups that you can co-create with and learn from as you scale your own companies. Just wanted to provide a quick timeline of how the program is going to play out over the next 6 to 8 months. Our open call period, which we launched a few weeks ago, will be closing on April 22nd. After this period, we'll spend the month of May together with the Air Force Research Lab team, NSIN, Decisive Point, and a few other key DoD stakeholders participating in the program to ultimately select the companies that will be participating with us. Between June and September, we'll create individualized plans with each of your companies to understand how your unique product and value proposition can meet a set of needs that we've started to curate from select DoD customers. We'll have multiple points throughout the program where you get to meet new customers and discover how your technologies may be relevant to their challenges. We have a soft conclusion of the program in September where we'll have a demonstration day allowing you to present the pilots projects that you worked on. But Decisive Point and New Lab remain committed to supporting your company beyond the demo day through next year as well. And we'll be continuously looking for relevant government and commercial applications where we can help your companies win deals. And I'll hand it back to Ryan to continue with the rest of the session.
Thanks, Sahil. Great job. And I know that looks like a long timeline, a long program, but here's why. Number one, it takes time to build those relationships and find the right government customers. And the time commitment for the program, it's anywhere from about 1 to 3 hours a week, depending on the group session that we're going to have. And then if we're having some other if you know you're meeting with another defense stakeholder, the program is hybrid. We do the virtual programming every week, and then last year we had 2 in-person events. And so one goal this year is going to be trying to get teams out to as many events and test and evaluation events as possible. And so while those opportunities are still in the scheduling process, we do anticipate there will be great opportunity for in-person interaction. I see a lot of great questions coming in. Keep those coming. But first, I'm going to turn this over to some of the most important folks that are going to share with you about their time in NSIN Propel last year. I'm going to start with Sheena Patel. She's a sales executive at Edge Impulse. Edge Impulse came into the program last year. They were the most enthusiastic team. They had yet to really enter the federal market, and NSIN Propel, I think, helped them get a great head start on that. And so with that, I'm going to turn this over to Sheena. Sheena, it would be great if you could tell us a little bit about your time during NSIN Propel.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Hey, everyone. My name is Sheena. I'm from Edge Impulse. I've been with Edge Impulse for a little over, or about a year now. And when I first joined Edge Impulse and when, Sahil, we kind of talked to Sahil for the first time around this program, in around this time frame last year, our company actually had very little federal experience. We were mostly selling into the commercial side of our business, which includes leaders in the manufacturing and industrial spaces. And that's really where our company's focus was. And I don't even think it was on our radar that there was such a huge opportunity for AI ML, which is, what our platform does within federal. And so it seemed like a good opportunity. I think we were hesitant because of the huge time burden that is associated with going through a program like this. And in a startup, inherently, you just are spread pretty thin to begin with, but we decided to go for it. And I kind of was the main point of contact going through this entire process. And I have to say it was a really worthy time investment for our company. Not only did we figure out how to navigate the federal space and what it means for a small business within federal, we actually we got an insight into some of the big national security issues that the government is facing, how what our company is working on fits into that, and we really got a nice big picture view of all of it. From a more tangible perspective, we really enjoyed going through the programming. There's a lot of good information there. We got to hear from top leaders in the federal space. But beyond that, some of the in-person events that New Lab and NSIN sponsor to really get in front of federal and DoD stakeholders was super valuable. So we got to get feedback directly from our end customers, essentially, and understand how our technology fits into their needs and how to craft that messaging specifically for federal. Because how you pitch to a commercial customer may end up being a little bit different from how you pitch to a federal, end user. So through those networking opportunities, it was really good experience for us to really just understand how to pitch our business. But then beyond that, the pilot funding that was provided as well helped us to actually identify a tangible use case within government. So we actually worked with the DHS to define a pilot project around firefighter heat exhaustion using our platform. And so being able to not only apply our technical expertise, but apply it directly to a federal problem was very valuable. And through that funding, not only did we complete the work, we built a really nice marketing video around it, which we still share out to pretty much any federal end user, and even we've shared to commercial companies as well, that work that we did through this program. Since then, we've actually started to really build out a government practice within Edge Impulse. We've identified that it's a lot bigger of an opportunity than we had thought a year ago. And so today we actually spend cycles of our time writing proposals and applying for SBIR funding, which you may not know what that means right now, but if you go through this program, you will. But basically understanding all the contracting vehicles that we have available to us as a startup and going for those. And so this is going to be a really big portion of our business in the next few years. And it wouldn't have been possible for us to really understand how to navigate this landscape and if it even made sense for our startup without this program. So I'd highly recommend it if that's not obvious. If you guys have any questions or you want to talk to a company who's actually gone through the program or any other thoughts or comments for me, feel free to reach out. I'm on LinkedIn, or you could also just ask a question during the Q&A and hopefully we can get to it. So thank you.
Thank you, Sheena. Thanks for sharing. We just had our NSIN Propel 2021 reunion last week. And I think, once you go through this program, we're trying to build out a really robust alumni system for founders to help each other out and share stories and stay involved with all of the government stakeholders. So another great advantage to participating is becoming an alumni like Sheena, and we've continued to work with her, and we provide support even after a program is over to make sure that you're successful. With that, now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Pete LaMonica at the Air Force Research Laboratory. He is the Chief of High Performance Systems at AFRL. If it sounds really important, that's because it is. And so I will give Pete an opportunity, and he's going to talk a little bit about the Air Force Research Laboratory and their mission and goal for the program.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our info session on NSIN Propel. First off, I just want to say thank you to NSIN, Decisive Point, and New Labs for the great partnership that we've had over the past year. It's really been a successful relationship, and we look forward here at AFRL building on that for NSIN, our second version of Propel as we go forward this year. So a little bit about AFRL, if you're not familiar. AFRL is the R&D arm for the Air Force, specifically within the Information Directorate, where I sit here in Rome, New York. Our focus is on C5I, so command and control, computers, communications, cyber as being that fifth C, and information. And that's how we're organized across our mission divisions. So the information directorate, like I said, is headquartered here in Rome, New York. We're one of 9 mission directorates within AFRL. I want to talk a little bit about, why NSIN Propel and why did the Air Force Research Lab stand up and advocate and co-sponsor the first version, and why we're still involved here going forward. Really, for us, NSIN Propel has strengthened our relationship and our ties with small business, and especially with new startups. You just heard from Sheena. She was one of 12 that came through our first cohort. And we really had a lot of what I think were positive success stories through that first cohort. For us, this helps us expand and explore dual use ventures. So our first one was centered around smart cities, which clearly are things that are of interest in the commercial space. But on our side, got into what does the data look like? What do the sensors look like? How do you command and control those things, which are really of interest to the Air Force? And then the third point I want to make is being able to connect you with AFRL, right? A lot of the smart ideas, the most innovative ideas come from small businesses. And again, we want your ideas, and we want to bring you in to our AFRL ecosystem. So that's connecting with our scientists and engineers that we have across all the TDs, the tech directorates, but also tying you in with our program offices at Air Force Lifecycle Management Center, or other MAGCOMs like Air Combat Command or Air Force Special Ops Center, as well as across the DoD and the IC. And so really it's building on these relationships that we have through AFRL and with NSIN that will help connect you with many of the key players across the DoD and intelligence community landscape. Lastly, just to build on one of the points that Sahil made earlier about New Lab and their site, we also have various test sites here across AFRL, the Information Directorate. We also have a brand new Innovare Advancement Center that's looking for opportunities like this, teaming up with industry and bringing industry and academia into working on hard Air Force problems. We also here in Rome have the New Air UAS test site. That's an FAA approved test site. So we can do a lot of testing in that space around sense and avoid. That's the focus there for the New Air site. And then lastly, building upon the other partners, the other government partners that we have in our area, folks like the Eastern Air Defense Sector, folks like the 174th Attack Wing in Syracuse, and also Fort Drum, 10th Mountain Division in near Watertown, New York. So just want to say, thank you for your interest in NSIN Propel. I'm also on LinkedIn, so feel free to find me and connect. Happy to answer any questions here later as we go through this info session. But with that, I'll pass it back to Ryan. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks for your time. Again, AFRL, Rome, New York. It's a powerhouse up there. And so is NSIN. NSIN is regionally focused across the country. And this program is, although it is based in New York, again, we're bringing in companies from across the country. But with that, Grant Fox, who's with us today, he is the director for the Mid-Atlantic region for NSIN. And I would like him to come and just speak for 2 minutes on NSIN, what is NSIN and what is NSIN looking to get out of this program. Thanks, Grant.
Thanks, Ryan. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining our info session. I'm really excited to kick off Propel, and you've heard a lot of the great opportunities that are available with this program. Some other things I'll add is one that we're really fortunate to be working with the Air Force Research Laboratory on this. The Air Force, I would say, has been leading the charge in innovation across defense, and specifically with the R&D functions at AFRL, you're really getting to the leading edge of the opportunities available for early stage ventures like many of you are building or already have. Another thing that this program provides is New York City. We're entering a post-pandemic world, and we're able to reconvene again. And New York's a great place to have what I like to think of as happy accidents, where you're just going to meet a lot of people that are stakeholders that might be relevant to the type of work you're trying to do. And we're going to set up those opportunities for you. So very exciting, and looking forward to this summer and working with the folks that are going to be part of this upcoming cohort. So a little bit about my organization, the National Security Innovation Network, or NSIN. We are focused on innovation for the Department of Defense. And the way we do that is various ways. We have some programs that help us interface with what we call non-traditional stakeholders. So folks that aren't necessarily working with the Department of Defense currently. We try to plug them in various capacities, whether it's through academia, early stage ventures, or corporate sponsors, and any other which way that it could happen. So you can think of us as connectors at NSIN. We have a regional team all across the United States that works with various amounts of DoD partners and trying to figure out what problems do they have and who has the solutions to those problems. So with NSIN Propel, it's a great way to interface with the DoD. But outside of Propel, please look at us on our website, www.ensign.mil, to see more about our programs. And I'm on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any further questions about any of the opportunities that NSIN can provide. Looking forward to chatting with you guys during the Q&A. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Grant. A lot of great opportunities at NSIN, in addition to NSIN Propel as well. A lot of great competition and challenges and whatnot that they host. So make sure you check out ensign.mil. With that, you've heard now from all of the main players in the program, AFRL, NSIN, Decisive Point, and New Lab. You've heard from Sheena and from Edge Impulse, an alumni of the program. We're going to jump into some Q&A right now. And I think Sahil is going to be available to answer some of those questions as well as Pete. But I'll start at the top. And if you have questions that are unanswered, please make sure that you're typing them in, and we'll make sure we get those answers out to you. But the first question I'm seeing, how does NSIN support startups looking to get into the federal market? Well, number one, we're going to create opportunities for you to engage directly with DoD stakeholders. We are going to create opportunities for live interaction for events, and we're going to try to help you find the right stakeholder to put together a pilot effort with that stakeholder that's going to validate your technology and help bring forth a use case of validation for what is hopefully opportunities for contracts on the back end. And so, that's how we're supporting companies that get to enter the federal market. The next question, we've already gone through the small business innovation and research process. We've already had one technology transition. We'd like to find new customers. So our program is set up to help both new entrants, folks like Edge Impulse that hadn't really built out a federal line of business. We're able to help you come in and systematically evaluate customers and use cases to figure out what is the right product fit, product market, product mission fit, as we say, in dual use. So we're looking for new entrants. If you've had DoD traction as well, that's great too. So sometimes companies come in, they've already won an initial contract, but they need help finding new customers and scaling their technology and finding a way to have recurring, meaningful revenue with the DoD. And so we're equipped to help you there too. So the answer is both new entrants and both folks that may have had a little bit of traction as well. All right. Next question, what resources do we have for members not in Brooklyn? So again, I'll speak to the virtual programming. We have weekly programming that is virtual for the group. And then we're going to have in-person events that you'll be able to come attend to. But again, you'll be able to participate in this program fully virtual. You'll have access to also engage with the New Lab team virtually throughout the program too. Sahil, do you want to talk to any virtual engagements that New Lab has done?
Yeah, I think like we shared earlier, once you're a part of the program, we create a very individualized plan for your participation, not only in NSIN Propel, but are continuously thinking about ways we can connect you to other parts of our business and other of our commercial customers, where we're working in different areas. So we'll continuously kind of build that curated and personal plan for each startup, and find ways of engaging you with other relevant startups that are synergistic to your products or business models, or connect you to potential end users that could use your solution. So that'll be kind of designed on an individual basis, and a lot of that engagement largely happens virtually. Our network here at New Lab, both with our startups as well as our corporate partners, spans the entire world. We're working in Asia and Europe and Australia, South America. So we're not limited necessarily by the boundaries in the Brooklyn Navy Yard.
Thanks, Sahil. All right, couple good key questions here I think that are important to cover. What if I have an idea for national security technology that doesn't fit into the focus areas? I think, for the most part, we have kept the focus areas broad for a reason. And, there's a lot of times where we're reviewing applications and we see a use case on the government and defense side that maybe you haven't thought about. And we have past experience and a pattern of kind of connecting those dots between commercial solutions and federal applications. So if you're unsure, I would still throw your hat in the ring and see, get it in front of the reviewers so that we can evaluate to see if there is potential there. What if I just have an idea and haven't launched a startup yet? Our program is meant for a little bit beyond the idea phase. We love great ideas, but we are looking for companies that have formed a company. The program does not focus on company formation. And so if you just have an idea, I recommend pursuing some of the other challenge opportunities that are available through NSIN at the idea phase, and then think about potentially forming a company to apply for next year. But we are looking for commercially formed companies. We will help new companies get the right registrations in place to do business with the government as part of the program. But we do want startups that have formed a team and formed a company. Sahil, anything to add there?
Yeah, I think you covered it, Ryan. I mean, what I will share is New Lab does have a venture studio where we look to take, unique intellectual property or ideas, and help you build a commercial business out of them. So what I would recommend, if you are at that stage, looking to see whether there's something here, please feel free to send an email to on our website. Our venture studio team would be more than willing to take a look at that and assess whether that's something New Lab could help with outside of NSIN Propel. The second thing I'll add, Ryan, to your point, and I see this question has come up a couple of times as well around technology readiness level. So as a program, and especially with Pete's support and his team at Air Force Research Lab, we are able to certainly work with companies across the TRL spectrum. I would say largely to take advantage of some of the core features of this program. We are looking for companies that are at the stage of being able to demonstrate their technology in some fashion in the field. And so it's preferable that you're a company that has a prototype at the very least, that is able to be deployed in some sort of a test scenario. And again, that's largely what the Brooklyn Navy Yard provides as a testing ground, but as well as some of the resources Pete referred to, give you unique access to deploy and get those operational learnings. So that's what I'll kind of comment from a TRL perspective.
Thanks, Sahil. All right, I see a question for Edge Impulse here. Edge Impulse started off as a commercial company. How did you begin to think of yourselves as a dual use company?
Yeah, so I think we had not really explored our potentials within dual use prior to the NSIN Propel. We had done some really early engagements through one of our VCs with a federal end opportunity, but that's about it. So we had a really vague idea that we could probably play within government in certain applications, but it was not something that we had actively explored. We had no resources from a business development or procurement standpoint focused on government at all. And so I think this program was actually really useful for us, not only figuring out how to kind of position ourselves as dual use, but seeing if it made sense for us as a company. And what we found was it definitely did. Our technology is actually probably even more, I wouldn't say mature, but the government and defense space really understands the need to deploy some of this intelligence to the edge. And so I would say in some sense, actually going through this program helped us realize that this is potentially the federal government is ahead of where commercial is in some senses around how they're looking at AI/ML on the edge.
Thanks, Sheena. I'm gonna throw one more question at you. What is the optimal team composition for the sessions? Does the CEO have to attend? And I think, last year for many of the companies, the CEO did attend, but a company like Edge is a little bit bigger, was a little bit bigger in size and commercial stage, and your CEO was very busy. And so, we had other members of the team attend. Do you want to talk about that, Sheena?
Sure, yeah. So yeah, definitely. I think in my experience with some of the other cohort members, for smaller companies, say 15 to 20 people, I do think that their CEO was able to carve out some time, or perhaps someone at their C level who made sense, right? Someone who's going to be involved on the operations side as it related to allocating resources towards a dual use kind of effort. For us, it actually made sense to kind of bring people from the sales side who interact with the customer side already. And I think it happened to be me, but it worked out really nicely where, we were able to kind of contrast what's happening on the commercial side as well as on the federal side from a sales perspective. So I would say, yeah, definitely think about who makes sense within your team to take this on. It doesn't have to be the CEO, I think. In fact, if you can kind of pick someone who you would like to eventually start to build that team out and have them go through this program, it would be super beneficial for them.
Thanks, Sheena. Great answer. We want whoever from the team is going to be engaged and motivated to stay engaged throughout the program, but does not have to be the CEO. We like CEOs, but understand that they are very busy men and women often, as well as the sales folks of the world too, like Sheena. All right. This one looks like a question for AFRL NSIN. Do AFRL and NSIN look for applicants to connect technologies with specific current events or priorities? Grant or Pete, or both of you, do you have any reflection on that?
I've got a couple of quick comments. So I think the short answer is yes. So really what we're trying to do is pair you up with folks that have requirements, right? Because everything that flows through from a program office down to a research lab is based on requirements, right? So, so yeah, my short answer is yes. And I think, how can we help current activities and events? Again, it's through those requirements. But I'll pass that over to Grant, see if he wants to add anything.
Yeah, I'll just add, if you go to the website, cto.mil, and look at the modernization priorities that's listed on that website, that'll give you a sense from a very high level what the DoD is looking at from a technology perspective. And that gives you a sense of the focus areas. And many of those flow down to the things that we're going to be working on with this NSIN Propel iteration. So yeah, working on current stuff, working on contingencies for the future, and you know, a lot of irons in the fire.
Thanks. And as most of you can imagine, you know, bringing innovative tech to government is more important than ever right now. And so, you know, participating in the program and you know what you all are doing with respect to innovation and the National Security Innovation Base, you know, we're really mission driven here and really excited to get the program going this year. So I believe we're at time. We hit as many questions as possible. I'm going to turn this over to Sahil to close it out. Thank you all for coming today. I know there's a couple questions we didn't get to, and we'll follow up on those. And we're happy to meet with anyone. You know, I'm happy to meet. Please reach out if you have other questions about the program. Sahil, do you want to close us out?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Ryan. And thank you to everyone that participated in today's info session. Pete, Grant, Sheena, really appreciate your time and perspective as we launch year 2 of this program. And we're looking forward to reviewing the applications from everyone here that dialed in and asked us questions. As Ryan mentioned, our email is indicated on the website online, both on NSIN's website, New Lab's website, and Decisive Points. So please don't hesitate at all to drop us a note. We'd love to spend some time with you to learn more about your technologies and any questions you have about participating in this year's studio. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.